Hello, welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Today we focus on Poland's economy and whether perhaps it is at a crossroads despite its robust growth and strong position in the EU. To understand what fiscal issues the government faces, I am pleased to be joined by Professor Krzysztof Piech from Warsaw's Łazarski University. Hello and thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
So Poland's been enjoying a very robust period of growth. Solid growth, economic growth has been forecast amongst optimists to be around 3.5% for the better part of this year. But does the government and Polish society have to face that perhaps it is on the cusp of a more fragile period now?
Yes, as we look at the fiscal side, budgetary constraints, we see that there are some tensions that will also have impact on Polish citizens, not only on macroeconomic situation, but also on the Polish society. So we could expect for the next year some further increase of taxation, different kinds of, not only taxation of banks. We have some special measures connected with that, but also the society will see the increases in some retail prices of cigarettes, alcohol, liquids and liquors and so on.
But I thought the president just said that there would be no tax increases.
That could be dangerous for the Polish economy because with this budgetary deficit, we need some tax growth. However, if the Polish president blocks this kind of initiatives, then we'll have further problems with macroeconomic balance, and that could stimulate the cuts in social spendings.
The strength of Poland's economy has often been determined by the investment market value, and in September, Fitch revised Poland's rating from stable to negative. What impact can we expect to see?
First of all, it's a measure showing the risk connected with Polish bonds, treasury bonds. So the government will have higher problems in placing this debts on the market. So in the future, we will see that the expenses on servicing the debts will increase. So it means that the Minister of Finance will have less money for other spendings because the cost of budgetary deficit will be higher.
Poland has played a lead role in the European stage in terms of defense spending, if only because it's more exposed to Russian aggression that Europe has to tackle right now. Do you think that these high defense outlays can actually strengthen rather than weaken economic growth?
It all depends on the details. There are a lot of cases from different countries, and the lessons shows that if the money is located locally, then especially in R&D, then it can have a positive impact on the economy. But if the investment in military sector is going abroad on purchases of equipment from other countries, we see the import leakage, and it doesn't influence the local economy well. So what we should do is to introduce offset. If we want to buy some tanks and other equipment from other countries, we should locate some of the production here. But not only the, let's say, basic production, but also R&D centers, which is very, very important because every zloty spent on R&D locally can bring 5 zlotys in return. So that's an enormous boost for the local economy. But we should have this R&D sector here. But there is also one thing. In Poland, we tend to have military expenditures in state-owned companies. It's a kind of mistake because they are not so as effective as private companies. So part of the investment should go to private companies, especially Polish-Ukrainian partnerships, because Ukraine is testing the weapons in the field. So we should specialize in building drones building, developing AI that is supporting the drones and so on. And with that, with this kind of Polish-Ukraine partnership, we could build the best military sector in the world that could be able to compete with South Korea and even Israel and the United States.
But how would you assess that? Because overall, there has been a narrative that Poland is moving very much forward when it comes to R&D, when it comes to business partnerships with Ukraine. So how would you assess the sort of military investment?
If we speak about R&D, it doesn't go to private sector well, because especially in military sector, it is controlled by the state-owned companies. So it is not a very effective way of spending the money. So we should be more focused on some, let's say, very well directed and point-based investments to specific firms, and that could help in development of the Polish economy.
So are you suggesting that with this level of spending on defense that the government is putting forward, that it should really work harder to ensure that it boosts the economy?
Especially in the private sector, because with this R&D that we are spending, totally, 80% of this R&D goes to the state-owned sector, to the universities, state companies, and so on. And the proportion should be much different. 80% of the investment on R&D should go from private sector. We should support, we should incentivize private sector to invest money also on military expenditures to build local Boeings, local military important companies.
So overall, what would you say that what are the long-term prospects for Poland's economy, keeping in mind that there are the challenges of the budget for 2026?
Despite the threats from our neighbors like Russia and Belarus, we have a quite positive prospect because of the entrepreneurship, because of the high capital, human capital. We have imported a lot of immigrants from Ukraine, from Belarus as well, especially in the IT sector, so that all supports Polish economy and should grow in the next year. However, looking at the details, we should direct our military expenditures quite well, together directly to private sector more, and incentivizing private venture capital investment funds to support this kind of investments, also using the so-called dual use. So not only military sector, but also in the civil sector. If we could combine these two things, we could grow Polish economy much further than only based on consumption as we had in the previous years.
And in terms of regular life for regular people, what can we expect towards the end of the year in terms of prices, inflation?
I think the next year we could expect the inflation going up. Why? Because there will be some budgetary constraints. So far we have spent a lot of money on keeping the prices for electricity on the stable levels and so on, but with the budgetary problems that we expect the next year, we'll have problems with that. So I expect that the inflation rate will go higher, maybe also to some extent unemployment rate could also rise, because the PMI in the Western countries, the economic situation, especially in our larger export market, I mean Germany, is weakening. So that will also have some negative impact on the Polish economy. But that's a midterm impact. In the long run, in about 10 years, the prospects are very positive.
And in terms of the demographic crisis that Poland is experiencing, and that's definitely something that is becoming very, very entrenched, what do you think is the immediate prospect for Poland and also the longer-term prospect?
We should understand that the Polish situation from the demographic point of view is one of the worst in the world, even. And so for the very long run, it is a very negative prospect. However, so far we have compensated that kind of problems with the increase of imports of human capital, if I may say so. So the emigration coming to Poland, especially from the countries with similar, let's say, say, social norms and cultures from Ukraine, Belarus, that helped us in building Polish economy. So we had some problems with shortages of the labor force, especially in agriculture, but also in construction sector. But we have compensated this kind of problems with the imports of human capital from other countries. For short term, it works, but for the longer run, we should focus more on demography.
Okay, Professor Krzysztof Piech from Warsaw Wazarski University, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And that wraps up this edition of World Talks. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.